Hey there, welcome to this episode of Experts on Purpose. The special guest we have today is Heather Alice Shea. Heather is the CEO and founder of Atmana Academy, and she trains and certifies intuitive life coaches into purposeful and prosperous practices that thrive on their terms. Her passion is teaching healers and coaches how to master superior coaching skills and cultivate their intuition for a bolder business and a bigger bottom line. Hey, Heather, thank you so much for coming on Experts on Purpose.
Oh, it is such a privilege to be here. I am honored to be on your podcast. I had you on mine. So this is just really fun. I feel like it's a full circle moment.
Yeah, I felt you would be the right fit for our episodes because you're also all about helping people identifying their purposes, right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So how did it all begin for you? I know you were a psychotherapist a few years ago. So how did you choose that as a career? And then how did you pivot into becoming a coach for intuitive coaches?
Yeah. So I think like you, one of the things that I hold really dear to my heart is leading a purpose-filled life. I think now more than ever, we have an opportunity and people are really feeling, for lack of a better word, in a good way, pressured to leave the old systems that don't serve us. Why do we wake up every day and go to a cubicle in, artificial light and spend 8 hours working a job? Let's be honest, we kind of hate. These old systems are falling away. And I think what people are awakening to is this notion of purpose. It's becoming, it's a pithy concept that the wellness and the personal growth, community talks about, but I actually believe it's something far greater than that. I think purpose is a lamppost, a guiding light that has a very practical functionality in your life. I think if your life's purpose was a thing, if we could say it's like a material thing in the world, it would be, in my opinion, as functional as your cell phone. It would be that applicable to your life. It would be that necessary, that practical. And so I think as human beings, when we step out and we start asking these bigger questions of what do I want to do with my life? What impact do I want to make? What skills do I have to offer? What knowledge and expertise could I offer the world succinctly, right? To really dedicate my life to. When we ask the question, what is my purpose? I think we're able to really move ourselves closer to what those 10,000 things we would be doing in the minutes of our days. So for me, my purpose has always been, and I've known this ever since I was a little girl, and the iterations of how I have fulfilled this have shifted and changed over the 45 years I've been alive. But my purpose has always been to do two things: to alleviate human suffering and to help people embrace joy. And so with everything I do in my life, whether it was, I started my career as a career coach, and then I fell in love with mental health and, went to school to become a therapist, and then started a coaching practice and fell in love with that. And then had a spiritual awakening experience where I sort of became intuitive and sensitive to energy. So I went down that rabbit hole with every step I've taken. And now, of course, I train and I run a school for life coaches. We do life coach training and intuitive development training. But really, it's all the same thing. I've been doing the same thing. So I think when we're walking in our purpose, you will notice the tapestry of your life. It paints this beautiful picture, but there's always that same thread, that same color, that same feeling, that same intention that you will see in every mosaic you've ever created. And that mosaic, of course, is your life. So I think that that's a purpose-filled life. It gives you that feeling of wholeness, of completeness, and it helps us face the vicissitudes of life, right? Suffering is like, pain is going to happen. It's a part of the human spirit experience. Right. But like Viktor Frankl said, when you have a purpose, it makes it all so worthwhile. So, yeah.
Very well said, Heather, because I understand that your purpose was the same throughout, but what you were doing to, go in that direction was different. but the
Mhm.
overall theme of your life has been the same for a very long time.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what then inspired you to start Atmana Academy?
Yeah. So that's a funny story. And this is interesting. People like you, people say, well, what should my book be about? I think I had a conversation with you. I'm so excited to hire you next year because I'm going to write my book next year and you're going to be the person to help me do it.
Yay.
But people, I think, ask you that same question. Like, what do I write a book about? How would I distill my life down? Here is something I've noticed. Pay attention to what people ask you to do, because I have always been that kid. So even when I was in elementary school, I remember when I was in the fourth grade, my classmates would literally fight. We would get in line to go to the lunchroom, and every single day, these kids would fight over who got to sit to my left, who got to sit to my right, and who got to sit in front of me. The three coveted lunch. And I remember standing there just being like, why do they care? I didn't understand. Now I know it's because I was really good at helping people feel loved and seen. I didn't judge them. I wanted them to be happy. And they wanted to be around me. And so, as I look at that, I see that's something people have always needed and wanted out of me. I've always been that person people would call. So I founded my coaching. I became a life coach in 2014. That's when I opened my practice, just doing one-on-one coaching with people, providing life coaching services. And I did that for about 2 years, and all of my clients stuck with me. I have clients that I work with to this day. I've been business for 8 years. They still call me, right? So it was like the end of 2016, like beginning of 2017, all of my clients that I had been working with for about 2 years came to me and said, like many of them, like it was weird, like over a 3-month period, I don't even know, maybe 8 people, 10 people came to me and said, I want you to teach me how to do life coaching. I want you to teach me how to start a business, and I want you to teach me these skills. And they would go, how do you do this? Like, how are you doing this thing to me where my life is changing? And, what is this process where, like, how do you actually, like, on the back end? Like, so I'll never forget the first lady who asked me, her name was Teresa Jackson. And I replied to her, I said, I don't do that. Like, that's not something I do. But she goes, well, you do now, because I don't want anybody else to do it. I want to learn from you. I trust you. And I know that you'll do it right. So how I got into life coach training was people asked me to do it.
You listened to it.
Yeah. And I listened to them. And then another person asked, and another person asked. And my response was, like, it wasn't this lightning bolt out of the sky. I think lots of times we think we step into our destiny with this, like, thunderous roar, and all of a sudden the heavens part and your life. That's not it. That really isn't it. It's just, okay, I'll try this, right? Facebook got started with, Mark Zuckerberg going, I think I want to make a directory for college kids. Like, he didn't think that it was going to become this big thing. So I think that I'm making a long story longer here, but I think the answer is pay attention to what people ask you to do and then give it a go. And that's what I did. And I just discovered that I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And about 3-4 months into it, it hit me. Oh my God, this is actually my destiny. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So, yeah.
And I'm so glad, first of all, that you listen to your clients. And what makes me realize is you were helping people one-on-one before as a life coach, but now that you're creating more intuitive coaches, you are just multiplying your impact, right? Because they're going to go and help so many people. So that way you're compounding your purpose by empowering all these other coaches.
Yeah, I think we tend to think of societal change, right? There's a lot of talk about societal change and systemic evolution and how we need to change these organizations and, get new priorities. I call myself a warm-blooded capitalist. Like, I love, making money and being successful. I just think we should do it with we should do it with ethically and consciously. I think we tend to think of it change happening at the top, but to what you just said, I actually think the greatest change comes from the bottom up, from this grassroots effect. I get messages maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks from people that I used to do one-on-ones with. And they will say to me, hey, I worked with you 5 years ago and I want you to know you said something to me I'll never forget. And today it happened. Today, that thing that we worked on, it finally came to, I remember this one person, small things too. This person's dream was to have a house on a lake. And I said, you can do it. One person's dream was to go to Scotland. They booked their trip. They sent me an email. I just went to Scotland. It's those things that change the world, absolutely change the world. So start small. I think everybody says dream big. I say dream small. Dream small. Start with the little stuff and feel good about those small changes you're making. I made a baby laugh in the grocery store yesterday. Like, that is a massive achievement. That mom was stoked that she didn't have a screaming kid in the grocery checkout line. Her day was made, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you're right. That ripple effect comes not from the lightning bolt in the sky, but from those small moments.
And if you hadn't done the work of, helping people one-on-one all these years, you wouldn't have probably had the confidence and the power to help people at a higher level now.
Yes, that's actually, I really appreciate you saying that. So the kind of the nerd in me, the educator in me, I am really big on that. I'm really big on walking your talk. I think that we do not have to be perfect beings. I do not have to have every area of my life figured out to be a life coach. I do not have to be the most intuitive person in the world to be an intuitive life coach. But what I do need to be doing is operating at a level of excellence within the area that I purport and claim to be able to help others. So I agree with that. I think you start small. Mastery is in the fundamentals, man. 90% of mastery and success comes from the fundamentals. So if you will focus on that, I did maybe 75 to 100 sessions for free before I ever took an ounce of money. I figured out my method. I figured out how my intuitive ability worked when working with people. I absolutely dedicated myself to all of the boring crap that most people want to, skip over, right? It's not fun to it's actually quite hard to become an expert at something. You really have to dedicate yourself to it. But what's funny about that is if you'll do it for a year or two, you'll be shocked at how good you can become at something that you practice every single day. And in 2017, when I decided to really go all the way in with Atmana and form this life coach training academy and business development company, I went back to graduate school. I went to grad school and got a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. When I sat for my interview, the clinical director of the program looked at me, closed the manila folder, put his pen on top of it and said, I don't know why you're here. I don't know why you're here. You don't need to be here. You've got a thriving business. And I said, well, I'll tell you why I'm here. Because I believe that I need to get on my knees and be a humble student to the art to which I am dedicating my life. How about that? I am here to learn from the greats. I am here to learn from men and women who gave everything for us to understand what it is to heal from the inside out, to search the soul, to discover what it means to be human. This is who I'm here to learn from. So you're right. I don't need this piece of paper to do anything in the world, but what I do need it for is my own soul's evolution. And I'm here to learn and I'm here to become better. And so there's a humility that comes with expertise, true expertise, that you see yourself as a servant and, a neophyte constantly. You're always the scrappy person in the back of the room that doesn't know enough and that's here to learn. And may I always possess that ability. I hope that I always keep that quality because it's the characteristic of true greatness, right? Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, you've shared such an important message here, Heather, because you already had a lot of this as this fourth grader, who was so loving. She was non-judgmental. Those are some important qualities to be a good coach. So those qualities were there inherently in you. But to develop that, to get that mastery, to strive for excellence, that's not enough. And I'm so happy to hear this from you that even till today, you constantly invest in yourself and just getting better and better, whether it's a certified course or doing something else to just improve your skills. And you keep doing that. And that's such an important message to our listeners.
Yeah. And I see this as that ability or the willingness to invest, as I try to train my coaches, and this is for anyone who is a coach, anyone who is a helping professional, I think this applies to really broadly anyone who works with human beings. It's one thing to master your life.
Yeah.
But it's another to step into a professional space and help other people. And so there's a big misnomer in the coaching industry about what coaching really is. And look, I've lived my life. I know how to help, Heather. I don't need a certification or a grad degree to know how to do me.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm selling. That's people aren't enrolling to the tune of over 10K to work with me to figure out how to go be a mini me. So coaching isn't, I did it, you can too. Coaching isn't, I found my way through divorce and into a happy relationship. Let me teach you how to navigate divorce and happy relationship. Coaching isn't, I figured out how to manage my anxiety. I'm going to teach you how to manage your anxiety. Coaching isn't, well, hey, I've always just been that person people ask questions to, and I'm just really good at giving advice. So I'm going to give you advice because I'm that person. That's not coaching.
Yeah.
So I think at the amateur coach, they use those skills. And I always say a healer is a healer. My God, we need more people doing the work. So have at it. But if you really want to be a professional, and this is why I think so many coaches, everybody listen up. This is why so many coaches have confidence issues. This is why you have self-doubt. This is why you have imposter syndrome. This is why you have comparisonitis, because deep down, you haven't really mastered the skill. You know how to wing it. It's embodied knowledge, right? You're gifted gifted. You're born with it, right? You cannot take that away, but you don't know how to use it like a pro. Look, I always give this analogy. Would you go to a surgeon who did not go to school to learn how to perform surgery, but they looked at you and went, trust me, I'm really good with my hands?
No.
Look, he might be really good with his hands and he might be a really good doctor naturally, but he needs to go to school to learn how to do that. So I think that's the power of certification. It takes that natural talent and ability that you have, and it allows your conscious mind to understand your own awesomeness, to understand what you're doing. So I can explain, it's boring, but I can explain exactly how I do what I do. I can point to the research. I can tell you what skill I'm using, because I've been asked that a lot. Heather, how the hell are you doing this? And so I'm like, I don't know. How am I doing this? And I figured it out, and graduate school helped me do that. So if you want to be a really true professional as a coach, you need to learn, and coaching is a specific set of skills. It's not just like, oh, I'm really good at this. I mean, of course you're really good at it, but to work with other people, I think we have to increase our burden of responsibility and expertise. So, and the good news is that makes you able to work with just anybody, not people who've experienced similar things or who you resonate with. I can work with anyone, because I possess a skill set that maps onto the human psyche and invokes change. So that's what coaching is. It's the mastery of those skills.
You've actually helped me change my mindset regarding certification, because sometimes when I see people just doing one course after the other, I tell them, like, why would you do this just to, showcase these certificates for your prospective clients? But now I understand that some people may do that for that purpose, but the real purpose is to bring that internal transformation for you to become better at what you do, and not about showing off to your on your website or to your clients.
A lot of people think that's what certification is, and I think it is to some extent. I mean, it can certainly be that
credibility.
I mean, it's right. It's the credibility. Check the box. Here's a piece of paper. The irony is, I mean, I run a certification school, and I'll be the first to tell you, I think that's a bad reason to get certified. It's if that's the only reason you're doing it is to check a box, don't waste your time or your money, because it's not, that old way of being is that's kind of what's dying, right?
Yeah.
In the 80s, kind of like with the birth of success culture, like the 70s, it kind of ramped up in the 70s. I was born in the 70s. I'm a child of the 80s and the 90s. So, in the 80s and the 90s, that was it, right? I got my PhD, and that was enough. Nobody cared if you were actually good. Now we're in a world where there's some of the stupidest people I've ever met in my life have PhDs. I mean, these are real idiots. Like, I'm just going to say it. Like, when I was in graduate school, that forever crushed my idea that the white coats knew what the hell was going on. Like, these are
Right.
some of the dumbest people. They're book smart, but whew, they have this zero ability to apply it in the real world. So, if you approach certification or anything you invest in with yourself from the perspective of, dude, I'm going to become more awesome. I'm going to really do this for myself.
Yeah.
That is what really creates that confidence. I think that we're all really kind of chasing, we're certification after certification, after course, after course, after course. What you're after is confidence. But if you'll just put your heart into one thing and stick with it and really apply it to yourself, you'll have that confidence. And then you won't need to get 50 certifications, right? It'll just be one. You'll always invest.
Yeah.
You'll always take the courses, but it will be from the perspective of, this is what I want for me.
Makes sense. So you teach people how to, get that self-confidence, and you do it in quick 5 steps. Could you just walk us through that? Because I'm sure a lot of new coaches are suffering this problem of not having the confidence to just own their space and start selling. So what would you tell them to do?
Okay. So I don't know if I have it in 5 steps per se, but I'll give you the philosophy.
Sure.
This is what I have noticed. It's a way of viewing. It's a lens that needs to be flipped. So it's kind of like everyone views it through a concave lens and it needs to be convex. We've got it all topsy-turvy. What I have found, particularly with people who orient spiritually in the world, our coaches tend to be people who they like to ask the big questions, right? Who are we? Why are we here? What is my purpose? What is the meaning of my life? How can I help? How can I leave a legacy? How can I leave impact? What you find in the business world is it's all about the market. You're taught to think about business other focused. Yeah. You're taught to think about making money, meeting the market, filling the white space. What do your people want to hear? What do your ideal clients want to hear? What do your ideal clients want? It's all other. It's all exterior. You will develop confidence. Confidence really comes from, I think, 2 main things. The first is I'll get to the second one in a second, and the research actually bears this out. So the second one is competence. So I'll touch on that in a minute. But really what I think confidence comes from, true confidence, the kind that can't be taken from you, comes from conviction. Conviction. When you are doing something that you personally believe is true, that you personally want to do, that you personally find so freaking important that even if you failed doing it every day of your life, you would wake up happy. Intuitive coaching means so much to me. If I failed doing this every day for the rest of my life, I would be happier than if I was a millionaire selling real estate or what. I mean that. I love this crap with every fiber of my being. I breathe it. It is a part of me. It is something I be. It is not something I do. And I believe that it will change the world. And I am a jackbooted thug for this mission. I am one person who is here like a warrior carrying a banner to help the world receive the healing it needs and to also just maximize our potential and be happy. I'm still that 4th grader wanting people to be happy, right? So conviction. And so confidence comes from being in tap, knowing a message that you personally care about. In our program, we talk about developing your lighthouse message. I don't really care what people want to hear. I care about what I'm here to say. And I know that I'm going to attract to me people who resonate. I don't really care what all of the latest business coaches tell me needs to be in my certification program. Right. I care what I know to be true because I've done the work.
Right.
So I don't really care. So the first step is conviction. You have to give yourself permission to show up in your business doing what you know to be true, what deeply resonates with you. It's from the inside out, not the outside in. And if you will orient that way. Now, the reason why this is hard is a lot of entrepreneurs don't know what those things are. And that's why you got to do the inner work. But I'm going to tell you what, when you get in touch with it, it's all this issue of motivation. It all goes away. I am compelled to wake up every day of my life, like a tractor beam that pulls me forward. I literally rise out of my bed, compelled to do this work. I can't not. Okay. So conviction. The second thing is competence. Research shows that confidence comes from competence.
Yep.
What is competence? Competence is the understanding that you are efficient, and also in the process of improving upon a specific set of skills. So you feel efficient, you feel good at it, but you also understand you're always improving.
Yeah.
So that's two parts of competency. So if you will really just say, what do I believe to be true? And am I always working to improve? You're like titanium, man. Like you're just unstoppable. And you really don't have to work at it. It just kind of happens. So.
Right. This is so good. And I think this framework will help people understand if they are, in the right space. Should they be really looking at this topic as their core thing for their business? If it's not resonating, if they don't have 100% connection, nor do they have the competence, they shouldn't be wasting their time doing that. And they should go do more inner work to identify the real thing, right?
Yes. Yeah. At the end of the day, I think it's really simple. I think I'll use myself as an example. After I had you on my podcast, I was like, I don't know. I know I want to write a book, but I don't know what I should write about. Notice how I phrase that question. I don't know what I should write about. And what you help me see is you can write about anything. It's really, what do you want to write about? What do you feel the book inside you is? So I was othering. I was othering myself.
What do people want?
I was thinking about what should, right? So that conversation really changed me because I was like, oh, I know what it would be about if I could just write the book I want to write about.
Right.
So I wasn't even taking my own advice, right? So, so I think it's about just giving ourselves permission to be in our joy and trusting that deeply held desire you have in your heart does in fact map on to the business you're called to create, and that it does pay off for you. When I started out Mana, there was no such thing. And I don't know of any other life coach training company, it literally to this day, that does what we do. Intuitive coaching before 2017, when I founded Atmana, a research supported intuitive life coach training didn't exist.
Right.
I didn't care. It's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. If you had waited for your clients to say that they wanted it, you wouldn't have started it because they don't know something like this exists.
Yeah. It's like, what did Henry Ford say when he invented the car?
Yeah.
If I would have listened to other people tell me what to create, they would have told me a buggy with faster horses.
So true.
Like you can't, that's why it's the inside out model, right? To be truly innovative is to listen to yourself.
Sure. You've constantly used the word intuitive coaching because that's what you help others do it. So for those listeners who have no clue about what's the difference between a normal coach and an intuitive coach, how would you put that?
So an intuitive coach, there's many different levels to this. I'll just give it to you really quick. We're just like traditional life coaches. Here in Atmana, we train. I'm absolutely adamant that every coach we train learns your basic life coaching is a specific set of skills as defined by the ICF. Okay. Active listening, reflecting feelings, right? So an intuitive coach is a person who does all of that same stuff that traditional coaches do, but they use their intuition as a coaching skill, as a coaching tool. Okay. This is what's so fascinating. So research shows, and I knew this in my practice before I even went to grad school, but research shows that the more experience a professional helper like a psychotherapist or a coach has in the chair working with people, the more they report relying on their own inner voice, their own inner hunches, their own inner sensate experiences to help their client overcome obstacles and achieve better outcomes. So if you're talking to, it's so funny. Like when I went to graduate school, everybody was like, yeah, duh, intuition. Like anybody with more than 5 years of experience working, they were all like, yeah, obviously we do that, Heather. Like I thought I was going to go into grad school and tell people there's this thing called intuition. You guys can start using it. And they're all like, yeah, duh. Like half my job is that. So I was like, oh, you guys know about this and you don't talk about it? So intuitive coaches, instead of going, yeah, duh, when all else fails, I use my intuition, and we all know it works, and we all know it's efficacious, and we all know it's powerful, and we all know that it leads us to the right destination. Boom, right, it faster than anything else. What I'm doing in Atmana is I'm saying, well, why don't we just use that first?
Yeah, that should be the first thing. Yeah,
that should be the first thing.
Yeah.
So so intuitive coaching is allowing your own ability to read the room, to sense your client's energy. And this is a rabbit hole conversation because, that sounds very woo, but when you know the science behind it, reading energy, exchanging energy, it's called coherence in the scientific literature. Human beings actually do entrain and cohere with each other energetically. And so what we teach our coaches how to do is use that properly, use it ethically. And we give people frameworks that keeps everybody safe. And we get more accurate, reliable information on that intuitive level when we're using those research supported frameworks. So it's kind of taking this kind of woo-woo esoteric concept of like, I can, read people's vibes and going, yeah, you can. Let's actually turn this into an efficacious skill, a proper skill that you can use, that you can explain that you're using it, that we're using it within ethics and best practices, just like any other skill we use, to help our clients achieve faster results. I mean, it's more fun. You get there quicker. There's no BS involved. One intuitive coaching session is like worth 10 traditional sessions. Right. It's just like, you just get to the meat of it. Right. So that's what I love about it. It just works better.
Sure. And your clients could be a coach in any field, right? Not necessarily only in life coaching, or should life coaching be their base if they have to use this skill?
It's anybody who works with human beings and they want to coach.
Right.
If you want to coach other human beings and you are interested in this idea of intuition, that you think that that you kind of have that ability, and all of my clients do, like that's the kind of, we're like a little family. Like we just onboarded a new crop of cohorts, and like in the comment section on the Zoom, she made me cry. She was in tears on the call, and she goes, "Oh my God, I'm home. I'm finally home. I'm finally around people who see and feel the world like I do." So yeah, it's really anyone. We've got psychotherapists, we've got lawyers, we've got, yoga teachers, we've got relationship coaches, we've got people who want to do business coaching, but they want to have the intuitive piece. Yeah. So it's really all walks of life. Yeah.
Very fascinating, Heather. So other than helping them develop this important skill of intuition, do you also help them in promoting their coaching business, like how to package it, how to price it? So what else is included in your program?
Yeah, that's a really great point. So I don't know about you, but I grew up really poor, wanting a twofer. Or a BOGO, right? Like, I want my money to be bang for my buck. So what I noticed in the coaching industry, because I would have killed to have a certification like Atmana, right? I just was out there winging it. So when I founded the program, I said, I don't want people to have to go anywhere else. I think it's really hard to get certified and have to turn around and go, oh, how do I start a business? So ours is turnkey. We do traditional skills, intuitive skills, and on the back end, we do business development. So it's basically from that inside out model, right? That's because there's 1,000 business coaches out there. I mean, there's a million, and it all works. I mean, I love it all. It's great. But as an intuitive, I think we do need to approach business differently. And so I've put in the biz dev, it's the same strategies. These are timeless business strategies that I use to build a 7-figure business, right? And these are not things that are going to go away. I've incorporated ideas that my family, who are, third generation clam farmers, learned on how to run a business and, make a living. Like, business is still business. Just because we have Instagram doesn't mean that the strategies that have worked forever don't work. So I think that's why our clients have a lot of success.
Awesome, Heather. So where can people listening, watching this show find out more about all the awesome stuff you do?
You can find us on Instagram. All of our handles are at our Atmana Academy. So it's ATMANA Academy. You can go to atmanaacademy.com, send us a message there. We've got a great little Facebook group. We're about 5,000 people strong. If you're an empath or an intuitive, if you're thinking about becoming a coach or you've been coaching forever, you can join us in that little Facebook group. You can just search on Facebook, Atmana Intuitive Coach Collective, and come hang out with us.
Amazing. I'm going to have all the links right below this episode so people can just go check it out. And thank you so much, Heather, once again for coming on this show, because I love these kind of deep conversations with you. So thanks for giving me another opportunity to speak to you.
Oh, it's been an honor. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it.